Hello, folks. My name is Keith German. I am the Customer Success Manager here at CCI Learning, and I help our clients with product onboarding, deployment, and utilization of our Jasperactive products. This is going to be a high-level overview of the teacher panel specifically for those that are new to the Jasperactive system. This is definitely not going to be a deep dive of every capability, but certainly something to help someone new to Jasperactive kind of get a feel for what the capabilities are available to them as someone that's instructing a class of students. So let's go ahead and get started. You'll see here that I am on the teacher panel. You will also see that I'm logged in and I have a drop down. Students do not have that drop down, but those with the teacher role will. You potentially will have just two options, and that is the role of teacher and student. Of course, everyone gets the student role. Some of you, though, might also have an additional role above teacher called center admin or administrator, and those provide some additional capabilities there for a specific entity. We're going to focus just on the teacher role, though. So, almost right off the bat, the first thing that I encourage those with this role to do is to go to download teacher resources. So, I'll go there and you will see a list of items that we provide to you. Now, this list will vary depending on your selection here. Okay, but you'll go down here to select a particular course, and whether depending on which course you have interest in, then you will select that. And let's say that I'm actually in a hybrid environment and I'm actually using the Jasperactive online platform through the Microsoft 365 site, then I could choose that. And I will see the list of items that I have here, or I can click download all. Or if I'm locally installing Jasperactive on say a Windows-based machine, okay, and in my entity we actually are still using Office 2016, then I could certainly come down here and I could choose a particular course and I can download all. So you kind of have an idea of what's available to you. I recommend that even if you're using a demo or trial version pre-purchase, you would still possibly have access to this depending on how that license was issued and what your situation is. But if you do, then I certainly recommend that you download one or all of these, take a look at them, get a feel for them, see how you might use them in the classroom. I mean, we've gone as far as even giving you your lesson plan notes, and that'll have some timing indicators in there per lesson exercise. We do give you a course outline if you need to publish that on your website, say for maybe the student parents looking at that. Whatever it might be, the quiz answer keys, and in many cases, not all, but in many cases, we even give you PowerPoint presentations that you can use to walk students through what they're about to learn to try to kind of lay the groundwork and prep them. So again, not a deep dive, but I just want to give you an idea of what's available to you. And if you don't, in your particular situation, don't have access to the teacher panel, but you wanted to have a feel for what we make available to you when you do make a purchase, then that certainly should achieve that goal. The next thing, and sometimes the first thing for some folks, is to let's set up my classes or whatever you might call that. In Jasperactive, we call them groups. And so you can set up as many groups as you want, and you can turn various things on and off depending on what you want that group of learners or students to have access to. It's actually quite simple. You just go into Groups Manager, and then when you're ready, you hit Add New Group. For most of you, if you're new watching this video, then you're not going to have anything here in the grid section because you will have not created a group yet. But if you do, then you will see a list of groups that you already have created. And at any point in time, whether you got a new student or whatever it may be, you can always go copy your code that you're going to give a student so they can activate their courses. We call that a group key, and you can certainly send that to them. Okay, so I'm going to come down here real quick and I'm going to hit add new group. And for today's purposes, I'm just going to put on here promo group. Okay. And then you will be issued a license, whether it's temporary or a purchased license that's good for an entire year, and you will select that license. If you have multiple licenses, and you'll need to know your order numbers, or you'll be able to determine those by their beginning and end date. All right, so this is for a class. So when does the class start? When does the class end? You're certainly welcome to pad those dates a little bit and do whatever you need to make this work for your students, okay? And then you can set a student limit. This really kind of helps make sure that no one or no volume of people can get into this group that you do not want. So like in my case, when I was in the classroom, I had 5 periods. I think one period had 12 students in it, another had 21 students, another had 17 students. You kind of get the point. And so you can set this student limit. Again, you may choose to pad it by 1 or 2 or 3 in case people move in or whatever the case may be. But you also can come in here and edit this. So please understand that as well. So if you do set it, say, to a student limit of 12, but you got 5 people have moved into your district, wow, then you can certainly come in here and edit that and make some adjustments. Once you've set those criteria, then choose the course exercises that you want the students to learn from. And just be mindful that you can also come back in here and uncheck or check. Generally, it's just checking an extra course, but you have those capabilities. Okay, so you can come in here and select boxes individually or as a group. And then when you're done, you hit save, and our software will generate the course activation code, aka the group key. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to go ahead and exit here though. I'm going to give you an overview. Now, going back in here though, I'm actually going to go into edit mode of a group that we already have created. Okay, so I'm going to hit this pencil button. And what I want you to see is once you've created a group, you actually have 3 additional tabs that show up. So real quick, if you're new, we do give the ability per course to set the custom time limits for your benchmark and validate or summary assessment exams. Okay, so we default them to 50 in this particular case. Depending on your selection, it might say 30. But you may have a class size, and it may go only 45 minutes, and by the time students sit in and so forth, you might want to modify that. Or you might have students who need additional time. Here you're setting a time limit for the entire group. Okay, but let's say I need to come in here and I need to edit that for a specific student only. Then I can come in here for this student and I can modify some of my rubrics as well. So it's not just the entire group. You actually can modify some of these settings per student to meet the individualized needs and requirements. Our software does all the grading for you, which is really awesome. So every time a student does an exercise, we will grade that exercise, correct or incorrect. When they do a benchmark assessment, we will grade that benchmark and give them a result. So you actually have the ability, we have defaults here, but you have the ability to come in here and customize the weighting of those grades. So you may choose that, that benchmark, I really would like to put a greater weighting on that. I really want them to take that seriously. So I might bump that 5 up to 10%, whatever it may be. As long as this equals 100%, then you're in good shape and you have those controls. Again, these weightings can be edited per student as well, but on this page, you're editing the weighting for the entire group. Okay, so we kind of talked about that. If at any point in time one of your students does a benchmark and you feel like they really didn't put much effort into that, or you notice they took 3 minutes on it, whatever it may be, you actually can come in here per student and you can reset the benchmark, by the way. And the same is for the end of course summary assessment or validate exam. Okay, all right, so that'll give you an idea of Groups Manager. Now, once you set up your groups, and you will want to do that before this next step, is many of our teachers choose to import from a spreadsheet their student list. Some, though, of our clients allow their students, because they want them to practice, but they actually instruct their students to go in and hit register here and create their own user account and define their profile identities and fields and everything. But if you're going to be importing your students, you simply go to import. You click here, that opens up our spreadsheet template. You then put in your data, however you choose to do that. You put in your data for your students. Our spreadsheet will ask you for that group key, so you'll want to have that available. And you can put all of your students in, and in the group key column, you can put the appropriate group key in for those particular students. So you actually don't have to do this just per class. You can do this for your entire student population. And then we give you instructions here. So a lot of, you don't even have to go to a support article almost. They're all right here pretty much. And then when you got that spreadsheet ready, you make sure that these 6 fields are set the way you want on a more global scale. You then go choose file, you find your file, and you hit import, and all of your students now have user accounts and they're in your system. So very easy to do. All right. Some of you, I alluded to this, some of you will use our installed version of Jasperactive, which means you're installing it on Windows machines. It probably means you have a student population that's actually coming in person, in class, into your Windows PC lab, and you're going to install Jasperactive. And one key reason for that is you want them learning on the client version of Microsoft Office, the full version of Microsoft Office, the way it's meant to use in a business environment. It matches the entire GUI and functionality of the certification exam, etc. And in that case, there's an installer button here. Now, you may choose to do this, or what you may choose to do is just simply come in here and right-click the download button, save that link address or copy it, and then email that to your IT folks. That will give them our .msi executable file, and then they can push that executable out to your lab machines, as opposed to you going to them one by one and doing an installation. And it's possible also you may not have administrative rights to do the installation and you require IT assistance. So a real quick tip there on how to get the installation file to IT, you just right click, copy link address, and email it to them. The home version really is only used for people. It doesn't mean they're learning from home. That's not what that means. It just simply means that they are using a machine, most likely, that's probably a little older, but it has extremely limited hard disk space. So this is a condensed version of Jasperactive. And all that means is when they launch exercises, we will download their exercise files only for that exercise at that moment, and it won't take up a lot of hard disk space. So institution version is probably used by our clients 98, if not 99% of the time. That's the one you'll want to use, even if they're installing on a machine at their house, right? Okay, so that can be a little confusing. We want to make sure we cover that. And make sure this all checks off right here. Make sure that if you're going to have the students learn in the Office 2016 courses, that guess what? You need to have Office 2016 installed, not Office 2019. So make sure that you have the correct Microsoft Office compatibility all set up and everything checks off there. Last thing, and we won't spend a lot of time on this because it'll take you a while to get some data in there, but once you do get some student activity and usage and data and everything you can report on, then you see here that we do give you a various list of reports. The most popular, of course, is the progress report. You simply come in here and choose your course that you want to print a progress report on. You then see, okay, I've got some students down here. It looks like a student in my online courses has some progress. I see that they've made 24% progress. So you can certainly see your data on screen, or you can go down here to go to export view, and that'll push all that data out, and you can print your data to a report, whether it's Excel, PDF, Word, or whatever option you need to. So you don't have to just view your data online. We also give you some drill down capabilities. So if you want to see what they made on the benchmark, you see there's an underline, so that's a hyperlink. And you also see that there's an underline under the name. So that means you can go down to more detail. Okay, now I click their name. Now I can see what they did on each lesson, not just 24% as a whole, but I see here that that's what makes up the 24%. And I could even drill down further on that lesson and see how much time they spent on it, how many times they practiced that exercise before they got it right, etc., and those kind of details. Okay, like I said, this is designed to be a very high level overview to introduce you to the Jasperactive MOS teacher panel. And We're not going to cover Activity Manager here. That's much more complex in some ways, and we have support articles on that, or we have the abilities to do sessions with us. But you'll start off with download teacher resources. You need to create your class groups so you have your course activation codes, your group keys as we call them. You might have to get the product installed in a lab. You'll want to import your students and then run reports when available. And hopefully that will give you an idea of what your capabilities are. I'm going to click a button here real quick, and I just want to introduce you to the support page. That URL is simply support.jasperactive.com. But the reason I came here is I wanted you to know that we have how-to guides. We have a video library. You can access our tutorials and our instructional videos. We have the ability for you to search for support tickets or submit a ticket if you need to. You can even do that if you hadn't made a purchase and you still want to bring something to our attention or ask a question. And then you have getting started instructions. Each of these logos are clickable actually. So if you are using our online version and you want to know how to get the Microsoft 365 set up and launch it, then you see that we will give you step-by-step instructions for you, the teacher or instructor. We even give you instructions to send over, so you can copy paste all this and just shoot it over to your IT folks, and they'll have and ask them to take action on it, and they can do that, etc. So we do give you really good resources here on the support page, and certainly want you to be aware of that. Okay, all right. If you guys have any questions at all, I hope you found this helpful. If you want, like I said, you can submit a ticket to communicate to us, or if you just prefer a simple email, our support email address is help@jasperactive.com. Thanks, folks. Hope this helps you a lot.